And when you work for an hourly rate, what or how would you decide how big your rate is? And in your book, you mentioned something that was really eye-opening for me, and that is that people take a lot of costs in both money and time not into account when they calculate their hourly rate. For example, health insurance or the time it takes to find new clients. People don't take this into account, and then they charge too little.
Yeah. So inside of this book here, which is the book we're talking about, Freelance Tactics, there's a chapter called the 2.1x method, and inside of there is where I break down the formula for that. And in short, the best way for you to really understand like the things that you're not including are going, just like you said, are going to be the actual amount of time that it takes to find clients. It's going to be the downtime that you have. And so a lot of these things that you forget about, the insurance, when you work for a full-time company, let's just say you make $80,000 a year in the US, you are also getting other things that you're not aware of. You're getting paid time off. You're getting, in the United States, I think a large portion of your insurance is paid by your employer. There's a bunch of other stuff. You have a computer, you have internet access, you have a desk, you have a chair, you have air conditioning. There's just a bunch of stuff. You don't take that into account. It's just part of working at a company. So when you start working for yourself, you have to take a lot of these things into account. And that's where a lot of people fall down, is they'll say, hey, I make $80,000 a year. How many hours are in a year? If you take 40 hours a week, it's 2,080. And you just divide that, 80,000 divided by 2,080 and whatever that, which is 30 something dollars probably. They'll take that and say, all right, well, I'm going to charge that amount and I should be fine. And the problem with that is you're not taking into account your insurance. You're not taking into account that when things are not going to work out. So where do you start? This is part of the book also that I feel that in my next book, I'll be covering in more detail that this is very US based in the book, is that the rates in there, because the rates that you can charge in the US are going to be different than the rates you can charge in Ukraine or India or something like that. So you need to be able to identify, you have to kind of change the numbers where you're based, where you're living. So you want to make sure that you're charging enough for your base income, which you were making before. And this is if you want to make full-time income, plus any of your additional expenses that you're going to have, maybe computers, plus any of your insurance, and then also any of the downtime, which people really do not anticipate, is they have a nice 3-month gig. It comes to a close. They don't have a gig for a whole month. They don't have a job. If you have money in the bank to sustain you while you're looking for a new job, that's fine. But you have to make sure you plan for that. And if you're charging enough, you can then take all the extra money that you've made, put it in the bank, save it for later, and then kind of live off that money. So that's all covered inside of this book here. And there's actually a free chapter. You can download the 2.1x method. I'll give you the link, and people can download that for free and read it.
Okay, nice. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Yeah, in Germany, it's similar that if you have a normal job at a company, then I think they pay half of your health insurance or something like that. But it's something that people are not aware of when they work for themselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so in lower wage countries where the cost of living are cheaper, like India, freelancing in the internet is basically easier, isn't it? Because they can compete with lower hourly rates and they can still live properly from that. Do you think they have an advantage when it comes to that?
I mean, they might have an advantage in that. Well, I would say yes, they do. If you are very good at what you do, and I have a large number of contractors that I work with from India that are very good at what they do, and I pay them more than what they normally get paid simply because I don't want them to leave, because I value what they're doing for me. And so just to give you an example, someone might charge, $100. I recommend people starting $100 an hour. Now, someone in India might only be charging $20 an hour or $12 an hour, simply because for them, that's a good wage over there. So they can, and very often will make good money for them over there. However, it's a very slippery slope, because there's a certain level at which an employer sees a rate and they think, wow, that's really cheap. Like, I don't know if that's good work or not. And so I don't have that exact number of what that is, but let's just say you're charging $12 an hour to be an Android developer. Do those exist? Yeah, there's people that will do it for $12 an hour. What's the quality of the work? I don't know. I have paid people lower dollar amounts to try them out. They've ended up being fantastic developers, and I've doubled their rate just simply because I was already planning on spending that much, and I don't want them to leave. So it can be very beneficial to them simply because they can have a lower standard of living and things are much cheaper over there. So it just depends on their skill set and if they're willing to kind of up their rates and test the market.
Okay, I actually did my first freelance job for $10 per hour.
Oh, wow.
Because I thought like it's completely new for me. I just want to see how it works. And then I started this was someone I knew through my YouTube channel. But the problem was that, of course, there was not much motivation to work on the project if you work for $10 per hour.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was a way for me to get my very first experience. Now, I don't know if that's good. I think your opinion on this is that you should probably not do something like that, even if you're a complete beginner, or not a complete beginner in terms of programming knowledge, but with your first experience with freelancing. Does it make sense to ever start very low just to get a foot in the door, or should you always start at a reasonable rate, like $100 per hour, as you mentioned?
No, I've actually recommended that even people do something for free sometimes. Because if you don't have any clients, you don't have any experience, and you want to just see, you kind of maybe want to be able to build your portfolio even, and you know this is something you want to do, you might have to go build an app or a website for free. And that's actually how I started. Is I knew some friends that needed a website for their company. I said, I'll do it, and I just did it just so I could get the experience. I just wanted the experience. Say, I built that, and here's the public domain for it, and I could point people to it. So yeah, you can start low. However, I wouldn't be pricing yourself so low simply for the exact fact that what you just stated, your motivation will drop. It might be cool at first because you're excited about this new project. You can't wait to start it. You finally have your gig. But then after you're doing it for a few weeks, your motivation will just drop. Like, wow, this really stinks. Like, I do not want to work on this espresso bug that I've been fighting for 7 hours. And I'm getting paid $10 an hour. Like, I hate my life right now. So you want to make sure that you're working a wage in which you feel like, okay, good. I'm getting paid good for this work. And it may not be the best in the world, but it's got to be something that you're comfortable with and keeps you motivated too. But if you are starting out, yeah, you can start lower just to build your portfolio, but have that mindset of being like, hey, this is a short project. It's only a week long, 2 weeks long. This is only to build my portfolio. After this, I'm going to bump my rate up 10%, 50%, whatever it is, until I've built a little bit of a portfolio so my profile is a little bit stronger.
Okay, so people should be willing to start low. So they can't expect to get clients for $100 an hour right away.
No,
right?
No, I wouldn't expect right out of the gates. No, you have to provide experience. You have to show what you're capable of doing. I mean, it's social proof.